What's going on, guys? Dustin Connell here, Bass Pro Tour angler, and today we are trying to identify fish on forward-facing sonar and trying to figure out if they're bass, whether they're gar, whether they're crappie, big shad, you name it. There's endless possibilities in these lakes, stripers, and I've got a little system of what I like doing and understanding the temperament of that fish and knowing how he's swimming and just how he looks on the graph, you know. So I run the ActiveTarget 2 from Lowrance. I did very well using that setup, and I've spent a ton of time doing this technique, whether it's even in brush piles or nomadic fish kind of just on bait or schooling activity. You know, you can tell on your graph by using a few little clues what that fish is, and it'll save you a lot of time. You know, I mean, I can tell the difference between a catfish or a crappie, or, you know, I mean, sometimes the difference between a largemouth and a spotted bass, you know, for that matter. So we're going to look at my graph and we're going to try to distinguish what fish are what and try to catch one or two, and I'll show you how these fish react, and then I will do a deep dive into what I think when it comes to identifying fish using forward-facing sonar. We're out here in the middle right now. We're over here, we're gonna get near a brush pile, but I've seen a little bit of schooling activity out here on the lake where it's the fall time of year, the water's starting to cool down, there's a lot of bait, and it's in the middle of the day, there's a lot of bait near the surface. So if you look at my screen up here, you'll go to your left, see that bait right at the very top, right there at 40 foot? You know, there's bait right there, there's some bait right there at 60 foot, and we're just easing around. And there's a lot of fish that are coming up schooling. So there's actually two fish down there deeper. Okay, there's one up shallower. And there's so many fish just out here swimming around everywhere. You don't really know what's what. And to save a lot of time, it really pays to know if that's a bass or not, because it takes a long time to pitch at one that's 20 foot deep, 25, 30 foot deep. So right there, there's a ton of bait. That's your bigger bait. You know, when you start seeing those separations in the bait, that's probably bigger threadfin. And that's what I'm trying to find, because the bigger the bait, the bigger the bass, typically. So we're gonna keep easing around and we're gonna try to find a fish or two, and we'll try to figure out what they are. So here comes two right here, and these are deep. So I'm gonna pick up a ½ ounce weight, and they're swimming right underneath the boat. If you see the size of them fish right there, they're in 30 foot. The size tells me a lot, and the way they're swimming. See how they're swimming down? The temperament of them fish is I'm probably not gonna mess with them that much, because they're swimming up and they're down, and I don't see a significant size on them. So they're not really that big. They might be crappie, something like that. They don't look like they're in a mood to bite, basically. So let's see if we can find one in the mood to bite. If they're above 30 foot and there's a couple of them and they're steadily swimming, they're typically some kind of game fish, striper or bass. So let's see if we can find some. There's some bait. See the bait there at 60? That's all bait. I don't see any bass in or around them. A little bit of distortion there from the bait. Some bait at 80. No bass are on them. There's a small fish right there. That is not a bass. That is not a bass. I'm gonna make a pitch over there, but that is not a bass. So I'm going right down to him, and I'm right there above him. See how he does not react to it? And he's swimming down. I came right beside that fish. That is not a bass. Okay. There's another fish out in the middle. There's actually two joined together. See how those fish are kind of glowing just a little bit? Typically, I don't see a lot of bass do that. They make a decent pitch. But just the way that they're acting, I don't think them are bass. I'm gonna drop down near them. They ain't reacting on my bait. There's one swimming up. I can see that fish's tail. That is probably a bass. Oh, he glowed. Yep. All right, see him coming at it? See him coming at it? Oh, that was a smart one. That was a bass. See how he reacted to your bait? The biggest key with that is that fish was swimming. These bass are very nomadic. They're always swimming. If you see a fish that's stationary, typically it's not a bass. That's from what I've seen. If he's swimming, he's normally a game fish for the most part. See, like you got one coming up right here? That is way too big to be a bass. See how he kind of glows? He glows. I'm gonna pitch at him. It ain't a bass, but I'm gonna pitch at him and see if he does anything. See, I'm right above him. That's a gar. See how long and fuzzy he is? He isn't a solid dot. Real fuzzy, swimming really slow. That's not a bass. All right, I'm looking over here in this bait real quick. See that one underneath the bait? See how he's swimming? That is one, you can just tell. Okay, here we go, guys. Perfect example. Here we are. All right, see there's a group right there, and there's a group over there. So those are game fish. See how they're swimming? All right, they're gonna rise up on my bait as soon as they see it. And they haven't seen it yet. I'm barely off of them, they're to my right. So they're gonna rise up and at least take a little peek at it. They got to. There they come, there they come, there they come. Oh, you picky boys. Oh, one just nipped me. But you see how those fish were moving? They were steadily moving. That's the biggest thing when I'm trying to distinguish bass from, you know, anything else. I got 2 or 3 right here. Them suckers are hunting. Them are bass. They're always on the move looking for bait. I'm gonna keep moving and don't look big. So here's one shallow. What? Look how this fish is swimming. See how he's steadily just moving? He slowed down. He must have heard the boat. Keep looking. All right, here comes another one that's swimming up kind of high. All right, there he goes swimming. See how active that one is below? Oh, he heard the boat. I got him. All right, perfect example. Remember me saying some kind of game fish? He's swimming. There we go. That is a hybrid. White bass, sand bass, whatever you want to call them. He has the same mindset as a spotted bass, largemouth spotted bass, smallmouth, you name it. He has the same mindset. He's eating shad just the same. And these right here are very hard to distinguish, but that's, if you're catching them, you're gonna catch smallmouth and spots. Largemouth. He's swimming, he's hunting. That's the key. Catfish, gar, all them, they're kind of stationary. They don't swim that much. Okay, see these down here? See those? See, they're swimming, not real fast, but they're at a good depth and they're grouped up that I will make a pitch. Okay, they're going down. Nope. Typically when they go down, they're not bass. But those right there look very, very promising. Oh, they went down. They're going down on bait. See, I'm eating that bait fish. Oh, we got one coming up high. Okay. There's one swimming high right here at, there he is. Okay, he's going through the bait right now. He's right there in that bait underneath him. See the bait? All right, he's going right underneath it. I want to make a good cast. There he goes. Smallmouth. Wow. Good smallmouth. Big smallmouth. Look at the shad he just spit up right there. Unbelievable. Man, that's awesome. Man, he's over here. See that bait he spit up? Oh, come here, baby. Right in the top of the lip, baby. Boom. All right. So you really just got to pay attention to those fish swimming. If they're swimming, in my mind, at a decent pace, just cruising, that's a game fish, that's a bass. Number one. If he's a striper or a largemouth, you just got to pitch in there and see if you're around him or not. It's really hard to tell the difference. Catfish, they're below 30 foot. They're very stationary. If they're stationary, it's crappie for the most part, crappie, even a school of brim, catfish, gar. You're looking for the moving fish and a solid dot. In my mind, to close the video up, look at that. Nice smallmouth right there. To close the video out, you know, in my mind, when I'm out here doing this, whether I'm on a brush pile or not, I'm paying attention to the temperament of that fish, whether he's swimming or not. I'm looking at the size of him, of course, because if he's too big, I mean, if he's a 10-pound gar, you're gonna know he's too long. And also the density. I didn't talk about the density, but a lot of times these bass, they look really solid. They're not really faded, okay? A catfish has slime on it. So when that return off your electronics comes back, it's kind of slimy. It ain't as hard of a return. So you got the scales on the side of these fish, they're a game fish. That's what I mean by game fish, stripers, bass. So look for your solid density when you're looking at them, the size, and just make sure they're swimming. If they're swimming, make you a cast, catch you a bass.